Welcome back to our first episode as we slowly reveal the secrets and treasures of our new home. But where even to begin with a 14-bedroom palace? Well, for us, it's with a pair of marigolds, not least because we're just about to move our things in, wiping back decades of decay, starting to reveal her beauty. I mean, just look at that parquet. So we patiently go room by room, bringing back life, no pun intended, to each of these spaces. Able to imagine now how the kitchen will take shape, or even the primary bedroom with its sunset terrace. Not to forget this iconic veranda and its Florentine-style loggia. Just imagine if this was your blank canvas. What would you do with it? Well, in today's episode, that's what we'll start figuring out together. So sit back and enjoy this chaotic yet beautiful story as we attempted to move in and carve out a piece of this abandoned Italian palace to begin to build a home. If you're new here, I'm Jordan, and I'm a full-time renovator of abandoned historic properties here in Italy. If you like the sound of that, make sure you're subbed with the bell icon checked, and let's get started. In my last video, I shared with you the first impressions video tour that we did when we first arrived at the palace 2 winters ago, and the state of the building itself is incredible, but even after these months later that we could finally arrive and start doing our work, the level of decay was quite a bit more overwhelming and brought into sharper focus. So it was all hands on deck, nothing else for it really, and we had to do a deep clean, at least to the areas we wanted to begin to carve out as living spaces before we could even think about moving things in. I had a few relatives come in also from London to give us a helping hand in these early days, which was so valuable to us. And these spaces were so vast that without their help, I think we'd probably still be on our 3rd or 4th cleaning pass just to get things to a bare minimum. But as these days passed, we slowly brought more light into the building, and it really started to transform our feelings about the space and our hopes for how quickly we were going to be able to proceed. You never quite know if your ambitions can ultimately match reality. But really, with a deep clean, the integrity of these spaces were spectacular. And so we took the plunge and we started to unload almost 10 years worth of our life that we built up here in Italy into the atrium. And not only that, we also had collected over the years generally, but also specifically in the run-up to the move, antique pieces that we knew we would need to have early on in the move. Not least these Victorian-style porcelain pieces, which we either got new or we bought from reputable resellers second-hand. And believe it or not, this rusting bathtub was something we were going to be salvaging and saving, but a lot of the porcelains did need replacing outright, along with the chromeware too. But we got our amazing plumbers on the job who went ahead and sometimes haphazardly installed these pieces, at least so that they'd be functional for now, and we could give those pipes a try for the first time. No surprise that they were full of years worth of residue, but they worked and they could be cleared. I want to save the full bathroom renovation for a future video, but in short, I applied a filtration system and got re-enameling the bathtub so that it had time to dry. And with the bathrooms coming together surprisingly well, we dared to believe that we could go ahead and start furnishing the main floor of the villa. This here being the desk from which I'm editing this very video right now. It's from the Rinascimento style, quite dusty as you can see, and actually as we zoom into the label you'll see that this was a purchase from 2023. One of these pieces we've had in storage for a long time, waiting for a new home. Much like this Savona roller chair which I got in Pisa the winter previous, and I was so happy with this find. It was just 50 euros. We had to drive an hour and a half to get it, but just like the desk, I'm thrilled that at long last we can give these pieces the context and the home that they deserve. Just look how they sit in that space. And just like that, these various beautiful pieces started to find their own nooks and crannies as a resting place, at least for now. But onto the lounge, which was critical, of course, for us to find a zone where we could relax, put our feet up, and wind down at the end of a long day, of which there were many ahead of us. And with the invaluable assistance of Peanut, I was able to place the 2 matching sofas and chairs. And before I go into too much detail about these pieces, I actually had an idea for an upcoming video that I'd love to know if you think you would enjoy, where we actually compare the furnishing that we're starting to do in these early days as we find the correct spacing for these different pieces with some old photos that I found of the original furnishing layout. It's a real opportunity to do a sort of room by room deep dive. So let me know if you'd like that, and if that's the case, then expect a lot more information incoming about these pieces and what came before. And with this stunning 3-meter Baroque mirror and console now in place, I actually want to take a moment to talk about the artwork that has been stripped from this palace. Arguably, as I mentioned in my previous video, something amounting to vandalism, but it is something that we have to figure out how to accommodate with our restorations going forward. Unfortunately, what you're seeing here are artworks that were literally pulled from their fixing positions, that were pieces that were really integral to these spaces. Many were actually frescoes that depicted the palace itself through its various stages of history. Maybe the worst part of this story is that this was all actually done intentionally by the inheritors of this property some decades ago, before they then allowed the palace to fall into disrepair. And thankfully the Italian state did step in to at least save these above door artworks, but unfortunately for the more integral pieces it was just too little too late. But back to the present day, it was our final night in our rented accommodation that we were staying at in the local town. And as sweet as it was, we were very ready to jump in the car for that final trip to claim the palace as our new home. It felt so different arriving there that morning. We had electricity brought quite rudimentarily to each of the spaces, meaning we could actually bring some hot water online, which we were foolish enough to count as a huge victory, because as any good renovator knows, it's exactly in these moments that disaster strikes. And lo and behold, we realized that there was an enormous leak taking place downstairs. And worse yet, we discovered it had actually been an active leak for some days, even in this technical cupboard, but it only just started to show up on the main wall of the room next door. So we actually had no idea where it was coming from, and the plumbers went hard at work. And in the meantime, I really just had to hope for the best as I started to build the bed frame, air out the mattress, and hope that we would have a way to cleanse ourselves at the end of this very sweaty day. But also alongside that impending sense of doom, the fear of failing to make the deadline, was a huge sense of peace just being in this beautiful space, and something really deep down made me believe that we would be sleeping beneath the goddess Minerva in just a few short hours. All there was left to do was to make ourselves comfortable and to enjoy each other's good company as we waited for news, hoping for the best. And just moments after this shot, we were told that the leak could be solved. Well, sort of, but it was good enough for us to open a mini bottle of Moët. The story was that of the 2 bathrooms we were working hard to bring online, one would need to be isolated and turned off, but fine by us. It meant that it was mission go to sit back and enjoy that sunset, because we were due to be spending our first night here without any issues. But of course we put that brief moment of downtime to something productive, and we actually found this gorgeous coffee table on Marketplace from a local seller, which was perfect for us so that we could have a classy, comfortable TV dinner. And as night fell, this is where you might wonder if the mood would change slightly, feel a bit more spooky, especially with these enormous proportions and these dark, ever-reaching shadows. But honestly, as we made the bed, I was just mostly exhausted, very ready to curl up and get cozy. And for me at least, I did not experience anything that went bump in the night, although M did let me know the next morning he heard some noises. Maybe that's something we can discuss in a future video. We of course made it to morning, and it was that morning run that I took with Peanut as she frolicked through her new parkland that I realized something very strange, that I already felt at home at this place. This vast palazzo with so many rooms, but with only one that we could call a bedroom, another that could sort of pass as a bathroom, and a lounge that, at least for now, was decently organized and not so chaotic. Everything else bathed in that morning light was ahead of us that needed days, weeks, months of care to even begin to think about how we could recover and revive these spaces. But that wasn't a daunting sensation at all. It gave me a fire and a level of excitement that I can't even begin to express. Join us next time as we recover the lost facades of the palace and reveal some beautiful elements not seen for decades. We explore the gardens and discover some hidden secrets and unpick the mystery of this fountain which started working all by itself.